but what about projecting forward? Like, how are you all thinking about a 5-year plan, or how are you doing scenario planning for the various things that could pop up? I'd be curious to hear all three of your responses to that. How do we make sure that we're not only prepared today, but we're thinking about what might be coming around the corner?
I think the first thing is you have to figure out what's going to be potentially available and start having those conversations too. I mean, sometimes, it's a parcel that you never had any clue of, but on the same token, there's opportunities out there. Um, it's having your ears to the ground and knowing what the opportunities are. And the other thing we've seen that's been very successful with a lot of our clients is back to that collaborative transition. You start transitioning over to some of these other operators, and if they are going to slow down, maybe they do want to liquidate some land to, start traveling or doing whatever they want to do. And I think having, we've seen tremendous growth opportunities come from that because a lot of those sales are private, right? They're nobody else knows about them. And so you want to be one of those people that can be purchasing that private, doing that private activity that nobody else knows about. And how you do that is, it's not going and saying, hey, I'm interested in renting your land someday. If you're going to slow down, it's going and saying, hey, I want to learn more about your operation. I want to, see if I can help you. I'd be interested in backing you up, and start to build those relationships. And those relationships are what end up being a lot of those private sales. And people are like, I didn't even know that was for sale. So
And for us, I find it's a bit twofold. So the first one is that, I mean, I noticed this in the coaching course that we run was nobody ever has a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan. Nobody's ever written it down. They might, have it in the back of their head, but to actually write it down and say, what does the farm look like in 10 years? And I mean, it's the first question we ask, and it's usually the hardest question for producers to answer. So, I mean, having that growth scenario in their head, if all things worked out perfect, where do you want to be? I think that was the first, notch of getting them to start thinking about it. And then it turns obviously into a capital plan and a land plan and, what size do we want to be and everything else. And then, I mean, the second one was just having them thinking about what could happen. So, like you said, having those landlord discussions ahead of time and coming up with scenarios. I mean, in Canada, obviously, we have some interesting tax changes in the last, decade or so that have made land rent in companies almost oblivious because, I mean, it's a 50% tax rate. So it's getting creative on not only the tax side, but also the financing side, whether it's joint ventures, having all those discussions ahead of time with landlords, because a lot of times nobody's ever asked them what they want. They've always come in and said, well, I'll give you this much for rent and we should go from there. We found that the best negotiating tactic on land was walking in and just asking, what do you want to get out of this? Like, do you want to continue to own the land for the future? Are you looking for X amount of dollars? How much can we rent? How much can we buy? Like it's them telling you, essentially giving you the cheat card, right?